The craziest thing, I worked with him like right before he passed. Like I was in the studio with him. He said he leaving to LA.
Damn.
I stayed in New York.
The craziest thing, I worked with him, like right before he passed. Like I was in the studio with him. He said, leaving to LA, I stayed in New York. Pop Smoke didn't know it, but that trip to LA would be his last. In the early hours of February 19th, he was shot 3 times during a home invasion at a rented mansion in the Hollywood Hills. For a Rolex, a setup, and a senseless act of violence, his life was cut short at just 20. Now a final recording from that night has leaked, and it's just as haunting as you'd expect. In this video, we're breaking down everything that happened that night and why this footage has everyone talking all over again. The young king's rise and fall. Bashar Baraka Jackson, known to the streets as Pop Smoke, caught a fatal slug during a home invasion in the bougie hills of Hollywood. At just 20 years young, this Brooklyn drill phenom had his light snuffed out in a tragedy that left the whole squad, fans, fellow artists, and industry heads straight shook, and confused Pop and Smoke was blowing up in the Brooklyn drill scene, dropping bangers like Welcome to the Party and Dior, his signature deep gruff voice, and that raw energy had him skyrocketing from being a nobody to running the wave that was flipping New York soundborn, and raised in the trenches of Canarsie, Brooklyn, to a Jamaican mom and Panamanian pops. Pop and Smoke had a rough come up with constant moves and run-ins. With the law, he got booted from school in 8th grade for bringing heat to class, which pushed him to the block life before he found his true calling in the booth. His entry to the rap game was basically a fluke back in late 2018, while posted up in a studio session with rapper J Guapo Pop M Smoke grabbed Themic when Guapo dozed off the result. Wash's track MPR, which kicked off what would become an insane blow-up by 2019, his joints. Welcome to the Party and Dior were straight anthems, bringing that Brooklyn drill vibe, that hard-hitting gritty sound with them. Dark beats to the masses, he inked a deal with Victor Worldwide. In Republic Records, dropping his first mixtape, Meet the Woo, in July 2019, followed by Meet the Woo 2 on February 7th, 2020, which hit number 7 on the Billboard 200. This rapid come-up achieved in less than 2 years of spitting bars showed not just his raw talent, but also his potential to be a global star. Pop M Smoke style was distinct, with that deep, smoky voice menacing lyrics, and that boss aura collabs with heavy hitters like Nicki Minaj, Travis Scott, and Quavo proved his clout was growing in the industry. His success was mad impressive given his short time in the game, but his life wasn't all good, including getting bagged in January 2020 for allegedly moving a stolen Rolls Royce across state lines. But what went down on that fatal February morning? Why was the Woo targeted, and what did the circumstances of his death teach us about the dangers young hustlers face when they start getting that spotlight? The tragic scene unfolded at a luxury Airbnb rental in the Hollywood Hills owned by Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star Teddy Mellenchamp and her man Edwin Arrowy. Pop Smoke was in LA for a quick 4-day trip, just back from flexing at Paris Fashion Week. The $25 million crib on Hercules Drive was just a short-term spot, and Pop Smoke had his day one. Homie Michael Mike Duradola and Amelia Rose, a shorty he'd met that night at East West Studios in Hollywood earlier that day. Pop Smoke and his squad had been posting flicks and vids on social media, including IG stories showing him getting a fresh cut flexing by the infinity pool and showing off designer drip. Here's where things got sticky. One photo of a black gift accidentally exposed the crib's full address on a designer label, and another pic posted by Mike D showed part of the address in the background. These posts ended up being the setup for the tragedy that followed around 4:30 a.m. 4 to 5 masked goons, including one rocking a ski mask and strapped with a burner, broke into the spot through a second-floor balcony. Security footage later showed a black Beamer circling the house at 2:20 a.m. with someone stepping out to peep the property at 4 Ciacia. An Infinity sedan rolled up with its light skilled, and 4 individuals slipped into the crib inside. The home invaders ran upon Amelia Rose, putting heat to her dome and threatening to smoke her. Pop Smoke was in the shower at the time after some static. The intruders let off 3 shots into Pop's body. One slug entered through his left lower back, tearing through his kidney, stomach, and heart before exiting through his chest. He also got scraped upon his right cheek and nose bridge. Thiepers bounced. with 3 scrambling back to the whip and 1 exiting through the front door, carrying a purse and a hammer. Amelia Rose, who was present during the incident, later spilled the tea on WTV Ship Hop Homicides hosted by Van Lethen, according to Rose Pop Mim. Smoke told her he was heading upstairs to use the bathroom, saying, "Okay, I'll come back." As she sat in the bed starting to undress, those were his last words to her seconds after. Pop Smoke stepped out. Masked intruders busted in one, put the steel to Rose's face, demanding she look at him, which she said was terrifying because of the cold look. In his eyes, the goons rushed to the bathroom where Pop Smoke was, and he reportedly yelled, "What?" Rose said that Pop Smoke was dragged out of the bathroom, and shortly after she heard the shots that ended his life, someone dialed 11 from the East Coast. After getting the SOS from someone in the house reporting armed intruders, El Abdi showed up 6 minutes later, finding Pop Smoke leaking bad from multiple gunshot wounds. The cops called for the medics, who rushed him to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, where doctors did a thoracotomy on the left side of his chest to dig out the slugs. Despite their efforts, Pop Smoke was pronounced dead at 5:12 a.m. The Los Angeles County Coroner's Office confirmed the cause of death as a gunshot wound to the torso, ruling it a homicide. The autopsy dropped in 2024 revealed 2 gunshot wounds, one tearing through the torso, entering through the left lower back, wrecking the left kidney, stomach, and heart, exiting the chest, and another hitting the left lower extremity. The shooters dipped before the police rolled up, and no immediate arrest went down. Some people at the house got detained, but later cut loose as they weren't. Involved LAPD initially thought the hit might be gang-related, given Pop Smoke's alleged Crip ties and the possibility that the assailants were gang members too, but later investigations leaned toward a robbery gone sideways, possibly triggered by those social media posts that exposed his location. Pop Smoke's death had the whole hip-hop community in their feelings. Artists like 50 Cent, Nicki Minaj, and Travis Scott paid their respects, with 50 Latter stepping up to executive produce. Pop Smoke's posthumous album, his mom Audrey Jackson spoke real talk about the loss, emphasizing the devastating impact of gun violence because of gun violence. "I'll never see my son run up the front of our steps, taking them 2 at a time." As the investigation unfolded, more details popped up about the circumstances around Pop Smoke's death. The LAPD's robbery homicide division faced mad challenges in the early investigation because witnesses weren't cooperating or were unreliable, and they lacked neutral witnesses who peeped the suspects. Coming or going security footage from nearby cribs provided key evidence showing 4 masked individuals approaching and bouncing from there. Sedance detectives figured the spot was targeted after Pop Smoke accidentally dropped his location to Thayeri, backed by the fact that LA homes rented by artists had been hit in similar home invasions. Exposed address in social media posts and questioning Mike D's rolled shut that down, writing on Instagram, "I would never in my life set my brother up." The cops looked into whether Pop Smoke's Algiers affiliation played a part, but the robbery motive seemed to hold more weight. On July 9th, 2020, the LAPD bagged 5 suspects connected to the murder 3 adults, Corey Walker, 19, Keandre Rogers, 18, and Jaquan Murphy, and 2 juveniles aged 17 and 15. The arrest came after a lengthy investigation with search and arrest warrants executed across Los Angeles. The suspects were believed to have gang ties, though the LAPD emphasized the robbery motive over gang beef. Corey Walker and Keandre Rogers caught murder charges, with special circumstances alleging the killing happened during a robbery and burglary, making them eligible for the death penalty or life without parole. Walker also caught an attempted murder charge. The 2 youngins faced murder and robbery charges in juvenile court due to their ages at the time of the crime. Jaquan Murphy was later cleared in Pop Smoke's case, but caught charges in a separate murder case. Preliminary hearings in May 2021 spilled more. Teal Abdi detective Christian Carrasco testified that the suspects were after Pop Smoke's ice, specifically his diamond-encrusted Rolex and Cuban link chain. A recorded jailhouse interview revealed that the 15-year-old suspect admitted to busting at Pop Smoke during a confrontation, according to the JIT. Pop Smoke initially gave up the jewelry, but then fought back, leading to him getting pistol-hipped and shot with a Beretta M92. The stolen Rolex was flipped for just $2,000, showing how senseless the whole thing was. The legal drama that followed shed more light on the circumstances of Pop Smoke's death and brought some justice to those responsible, the story of Pop M Smoke's final days and their recordings he left behind reveal a young king on the verge of greatness with untapped potential and unrealized dreams that would only be glimpsed posthumously through his music. The final studio sessions and posthumous come up while the legal drama around Pop and Smoke Oak's murder kept unfolding. The music world was dealing with losing a star whose potential had barely been tapped. When Hay got smoked, Pop was grinding on. What would have been his debut studio album, a project meant to show his evolution as an artist and his hustle to blow past Brooklyn drill and become a global icon after he passed the task of finishing, and dropping this album fell to his inner circle, especially 50 Cent, who stepped up as executive producer. The end result was Shoot for the Stars. Aim for the Moon released on July 3rd, 2020, just over 4 months after Pop M Smoke got it out. The album became a straight hit both critically and commercially, beating at number 1 on the Billboard 200 and securing Pop Smoke's legacy. Despite his early exit, Pop M Smoke's catalog includes 2 albums, Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon. 2020 and Faith 2021, both executively produced by 50 Cent and others. These projects were put together from unfinished tracks featuring guest verses from big names like Kanye West, Pusha T, and Dua Lipa. Despite these drops, rumors keep circulating about additional unreleased heat, including studio sessions and demos posts on X and web. Reports suggest some of these tracks have leaked online, often tagged as leaks or exposed recordings. For instance, a post on X from @ValtoFartist on April 28, 2025 mentioned a leaked session of Pop Smoke's track, Something Special, linking to a URL that's now dead. Another post from @RapHub Daily in 2020 talked about a posthumous album and documentary indicating early plans to push more of Pop Smoke's work. These posts show ongoing fan and industry interest in his unreleased stash, but also highlight how speculative these exposures can be. Leaked music claimed to be Pop Smoke's raises questions about whether it's real. Several things make verification complicated: source credibility, audio quality, and completeness. AI generated fakes and lack of official confirmation leaks often pop up on unofficial platforms or X posts without traceable origins. Hackers, insiders, or opportunists might share files, but nobody can be sure they're legit. Many leaks are low-quality snippets or unfinished verses, as fans discuss on Reddit and at YouTube. For example, a track like Something Special from Shoot for the Stars has a leaked session version, but it's unclear if it's a real studio take or just a fan edit. The rise of AI music tools has led to fake Pop M Smoke tracks, as mentioned in a 2024 Billboard article about AI-generated music flooding streaming platforms. Some leaks might be AI creations rather than authentic recordings. Pop Smoke's estate and collaborators like Steven Victor or 50 Cent haven't publicly verified most leaked tracks, casting doubt on where they came from. To keep it a buck, a 2023 YouTube video titled Pop M Smoke Unreleased Last Studio Session got thousands of views, but fans in the comments flagged it as potentially K-pop mislabeled without proper audio analysis or official statements. The authenticity of such recordings remains, this according to a post from Pop Smoke's manager and producer Rico Beats in May 2023. There's no more unreleased music left in Pop Smoke's vault. Beats responded to a fan asking about unreleased music with who said he had music left, suggesting that they've emptied the stash of unreleased material. Rico Beats also claimed that Pop M Smoke would not approve of 99% of the stuff they put out, implying that the posthumous releases might not have aligned with Pop Smoke's artistic vision. This statement has sparked debates among the fan base about whether more releases should drop, with some arguing they might tarnish Pop M Smoke's legacy. Despite these claims, speculation about unreleased tracks keeps bubbling. A 2025 Reddit post listed rumored unreleased songs, including a verse for Fat Joe potential collabs with Quavo and French Montana, and leaked snippets like Start Shooting. But these discussions are mostly just talk, with many admitting the vault is probably empty. The exposure of Pop M Smoke's unreleased music raises serious ethical and legal issues. Pop M Smoke can't consent to dropping unfinished work which might not reflect his artistic vision. His family and estate have expressed frustration over leaks. as seen in a 2021 Rolling Stone interview with his mother Audrey Jackson, who emphasized keeping his legacy right. Unreleased recordings are typically owned by the artist's estate or label Republic Records. In Pop Smoke's case, leaks violate copyright law, potentially leading to lawsuits or takedowns. For example, the URL in the Advertist X post is now dead, likely due to a DMCA takedown leaks exploit. Pop M Smoke's death for clout or bread as leakers. Often monetize views on platforms like YouTube, this undermines the efforts of his team to curate his posthumous releases properly, while fans fiend for new music leaks can water down Pop Smoke's discography, flooding the market with subpar or fake tracks. The music industry has dealt with similar issues for artists like Juice WRLD and Case Temptation, where posthumous leaks have sparked debates about respecting the deceased fan and industry reactions to Pop M Smoke's leaked recordings are mixed based on X posts and web discussions. Many fans on X and Reddit get hyped over new leaks, seeing them as a way to keep Pop M Smoke's memory alive. Comments on leaked tracks often big up his raw talent, even in unfinished form. Some fans and music writers, as seen in a 2022 Complex article, criticized leaks for disrespecting Pop M Smoke's legacy and profiting off his death discussions. On platforms like Reddit's Pop M Smoke subreddit frequently question if leaks are authentic, with users debating whether tracks are real or AI generated. Pop Smoke's collaborators like 50 Cent have emphasized in interviews, for example, a 2020 Billboard feature, the importance of only dropping high-quality posthumous works, suggesting caution about unauthorized leaks. The @Valtuardi's post from 2025, for instance, got engagement from fans but also sparked replies questioning if the leak was legit, showing this divided reaction. So what do we actually know about Pop Smoke's final recordings and the process behind them? Let's dig into what's confirmed and what's still just speculation. Pop Smoke's recording process was dynamic and collaborative, often with the party vibe, according to Corey Cutts Newile, his go-to engineer in the final 8 months of his life. Pop M Smoke laid down an estimated 50-70 songs. During this period, sessions were lit mixing. Homies from his Canarsie hood with industry figures, Pop M Smoke thrived in a turn-up environment which fueled his creativity. Noodle noted his great genuine energy and how he liked to have a good time in the studio, while his roots were in drill Pop Smoke. Ways exploring melodic and R&B infused sounds. His background singing in church shaped his ability to craft hooks and experiment with softer vocal styles, as heard in tracks like For the Night and What You Know About Love. Pop Smoke worked tight with producers like 8008 Mello, who defined his drill sound, and engineers like Jess Jackson, who helped blend features from artists like Lil Baby and The Baby. He also pulled beats from YouTube like the one for the Night, showing his resourcefulness. Hair recorded quick, often knocking out tracks like Hawkum in just 1 or 2 sessions. His ability to lay down verses and hooks sufficiently allowed him to build a serious catalog. Shoot for the Stars. Aim for the Moon was Pop Smoke's first studio album, finishedly by Steven Victor 50 Cent and a team of producers and engineers. It aimed to showcase his versatility and global appeal, mixing drill with melodic radio-friendly tracks. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 with all 19 tracks, charting on the Billboard Hot 100, including top 10 bangers For the Night featuring Lil Baby, Into the Baby, and What You Know About Love. For the Night was a standout joint with a smooth melodic hook, switching up from Pop Smoke's typical drill sound. Extra production by Mike Dean and Jess Jackson helped blend Pop M Smoke's deep voice with the higher tones of Lil Baby and The Baby. The beat came from YouTube, showing Pop M Smoke's skill at finding dope material online. Make It Rain featuring Rowdy Rebel dropped as the lead single on June 12, 2020. This track featured Rowdy Rebel's verse recorded through a collect call from prison, highlighting the realness of their shared Brooklyn drill legacy. Aim for the Moon and 44 Bulldog kept Pop Smoke's drill roots with triumphant and menacing vibes respectively. They reflect his core sound while hinting at his growing success. What You Know About Love sampling. Genuine blew up on TikTok, peaking at #9 on the Billboard Hot 100. It showed Pop M Smoke's ability to craft romantics. Accessible songs, Something Special, a throwback to early 2000s New York rap, highlighted Pop M Smoke's singing ability, reworking Tamia and Fableize Into You. After Pop M Smoke got gunned down, 50 Cent and Steven Victor headed up the album's completion bringing. and features from artists like Quavo Future and Sway Lee. The process faced obstacles like clearance issues, some tracks including for the night needed music recreated due to uncleared samples. Critics noted that the album leaned heavy on mainstream features and times. Overshadowing Pop Smoke himself, tracks like Creature gave him limited space compared to guests like Sway Lee. The original album cover by Virgil Abloh got dragged as lazy and rushed, leading to a change. Org Petition, with tens of thousands of signatures, writer Rips designed the final Chroma Rose cover picked by Pop Smoke's mother. Pop Smoke's second posthumous album, Faith, July 16, 2021, debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, making him the first artist with 2 posthumous albums to hit that milestone. However, it got mixed reviews for relying on unfinished demos and heavy features, which some felt watered down. Pop Smoke's Drill Essence. Reviewers claimed that Faith prioritized streaming numbers over artistic integrity, with Pitchfork calling it a Frankenstein creation that exploited Pop Smoke's legacy. While the world embraced his final verses, a parallel tale began to unfold, one laced with mystery rumors and a legacy too powerful to ignore the drama. Conspiracy theories and lasting impact. Pop Smoke's death has been surrounded by mad controversy and wild theories since that fatal night of February 19, 2020. While the official investigation concluded it was a botched robbery, different narratives have popped up fueled by surveillance footage, witness statements, and the sketchy circumstances around the whole situation. Okay, the night of this situation, there's been a lot of talk about exactly what y'all were up to in that moment, whether it was a robbery or if there was somebody that basically paid y'all to go do something. How would you describe what was going on that night? Maybe even just like take us through the day if you want. Well, I'm not gonna get into detail about too much, but it was a robbery. Nobody sent, nobody did, none of that. One of the most persistent conspiracy theories is whether Pop Smoke's murder was a targeted hit rather than a simple licktums reported shortly after the incident. That surveillance footage from the Hollywood Hill's crib suggested a targeted hit as the perpetrators bounced without taking anything valuable. According to the report, people who peeped the tape said 4 men pulled up to the spot around 4:38 m local time and snuck around the back moments later. 3 of the 4 men came around the side of the house, while the 4th presumably slipped in through the back door. Multiple shots popped off inside. The home-ending Pop Smoke's life footage showed the men fleeing the scene empty-handed, making it seem unlikely it was just a robbery. However, this narrative conflicts with evidence that surfaced during the investigation. Lab Detective Christian Carrasco testified that the suspects were after Pops Smoke's ice, specifically his diamond-encrusted Rolex and Cuban link chain, which they later flipped for a measly $2,000. This detail suggests it really was a robbery, just one that went south real quick. Therill of social media and Pop Smoke's death has been a major talking point, hours before getting hit. Pop Smoke posted on Instagram, accidentally exposing the location of the rental crib on a package label, and another pic posted by Mike D showed part of the address in the background. These posts likely tipped off the shooters to Pop Smoke's location. This aspect of the tragedy has raised serious questions about the risks of flexing too hard on social media, especially for high-profile figures like Pop Smoke. The incident is a harsh reminder of the potential dangers of revealing your location and flaunting wealth online, particularly for public figures who might be targeted by ops or random hustlers looking for a come-up. Another hot topic around Pop Smoke's death involves accusations of a setup or backdoor situation. Some fans and internet detectives speculated that people close to Pop Smoke, like his homie Mike D, might have set him up. D shut down these allegations, posting on Instagram, "I would never in my life set my brother up." Amelia Rose, who was with Pop Smoke during the home invasion, has also caught strays in the speculation. However, one of the alleged killers, known as Blockstar, stated in an interview that nobody backdoor, nobody suggesting that neither Rose nor Mike D was involved in setting up Pop Smoke. Let's clear that up. Nobody. I know that 100% for sure. The interview with Blockstar, one of the alleged juvenile killers, hosted by Adam22 on the No Jumper podcast in July 2024, stirred up major controversy. Blockstar showed zero remorse for his actions, stating, "I'm not sorry about nothing, people die every day." This cold attitude had Pop Smoke's fans and family heated. "I didn't know who he was. I didn't know who he was connected to. I don't know where he was from. I didn't know. He's all I knew is what I knew." Blockstar claimed the murder wasn't premeditated. But just a lick that went left. He said that he and the other perpetrators had no clue. Who Pop Smoke didn't recognize him as a rapper and thought he might be a model based on his flicks. This claim contradicts earlier theories that Pop Smoke was specifically targeted because of his fame or gang affiliations. Nobody's intended to get hurt. Nobody so, though. You feel like drugs played a part in the situation. Like, why did he end up getting shot anyway? Like, why? Especially, I don't feel like the drugs was part of the situation. Blockstar blamed the violence on too much movement rather than planning to catch a body. He claimed Pop Smoke bucked during the robbery, leading to the confrontation that Gotham smoked when pressed about whether he was the trigger. Man, Blockstar curved the question, leaving his exact role in the killing unclear. Is that accurate? Next question. History can't talk about that. Can't talk about that. The Blockstar interview itself sparked mad controversy, with many calling out Adam22 for giving a platform to one of Pop Smoke's killers. Adam22 defended the interview as a historical record, while critics said it was exploitative and disrespectful to Pop Smoke's memory. Pop Smoke's mom's Audrey Jackson responded to the interview, saying that Blockstar's life is finished and focusing on her son's legacy rather than engaging with his killer's lack of remorse. Her dignified response highlighted the deep grief that still surrounds Pop Smoke's death and the ongoing impasse.